Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Raad Life. Today, I have a returning guest, a friend of mine, and a person that is in the midst of it right now with COVID, especially when it comes to services and provision of services to seniors in my neck of the woods in South Orange County. Gentleman's name is Steve Moyer, and he is the director at the AgeWell Senior Services. And I'm going to bring him on. Steve has been on the show before, and I've been trying to get him on for a while, but they've been very super busy because of what they've been dealing with. They've had to really pivot and address things differently. Steve, good morning. How are you?
I am well. How are you, Rad?
I'm good. Thank you. Good to see you, my friend. I was just saying that um, I've been trying to get you on for a bit. You've been on the show before. I've been trying to get you on for a bit because of trying to check in with you guys and see what's been going on relevant to seniors and provision of services for seniors with the COVID, because I know you guys have been super busy. So I really appreciate you making the time to be on with me today. For those who did not have the pleasure of seeing you on before, let's give a little background on Steve and how you got to AgeWell. And I'm going to put that website up as well and the logo here. But take a minute, buddy, and let's do that. And then I want to really kind of see what's been going on with you guys, because I know a lot has been going on, and there's been things that have been like new ways of doing things that, kind of were driven by COVID and limitations and so forth. And I want to also touch, by the way, I'm giving you a heads up now. I do want to touch on, ironically, how instrumental your background actually fits into what's happening right now.
Great.
Okay, so the mic is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Rad. First of all, again, so nice seeing you, my friend. And last time I was actually in your studios, and now I'm seeing you on Zoom. So you still look great. So
Thank you. Likewise, you look awesome, and for all the pressure that you've been dealing with, you're holding up pretty good.
thank you. So going back to how I got involved with this tremendous nonprofit organization is I have spent 42, 43 years in the restaurant business, running restaurant chains throughout California, Hawaii, and Arizona. And a friend of mine one day, this was back in 2005, asked me to join the board of directors of this nonprofit organization and chair the nutrition committee.
Wow.
I knew nothing about, at the time, it was called South County Senior Services. Later, we changed our name to AgeWell
Yep.
Senior Services. And so in being on the board of directors, I had the pleasure one day of actually going out on a Meals on Wheels run. And it so happened that particular day we were having all kinds of hurricanes that were occurring in Hawaii, and I was very concerned about some of our restaurants blowing away.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, why am I doing this? Why don't I cancel? I should be in the corporate office and in touch with Hawaii. Well, because I had committed to it, I did it. And that was a day that truly changed my life. When I'll call her Mrs. Smith, when I was with a volunteer, we went into Mrs. Smith's home. The volunteer knocked at the door. Mrs. Smith beamed. And as soon as I saw her, she was smiling. She had arthritic knees, and she was rubbing both knees. She had an arthritis in her neck. She had a heating pad. The volunteer told Mrs. Smith, I'm bringing you 3 meals today. I've got a hot meal I'm putting on the oven, on the stovetop for you. And in addition to that, I'm putting 2 meals that are in the refrigerator. I'm going through your refrigerator, identifying food that's past its date, and throwing that out. Mrs. Smith was 100% blind, Rad, and
Wow.
and lived by herself. The
Yeah.
only contact she was having that day was with a volunteer from our nonprofit organization who would check on Mrs. Smith. And one day, unfortunately, as we all do, we go south, and Mrs. Smith would need additional help. At that point, the volunteer, this wasn't the day, of course, but
Right.
at the point that that happens to an individual, the volunteer goes back, reports to their supervisor, and we bring in all kinds of services, including case management, to assess a person like Mrs. Smith and help.
Well,
So after,
let me just interrupt you for a second here, because I think you and I take this sometimes for granted because we know, right? A lot of people that are listening to the story don't, I think, have the basis that you and I may have from being exposed to seniors and senior industry for a while, right? This is not an uncommon story. This is a very common situation where that senior who is trying to maintain some independence of living and decision making actually is like a degree away from isolation, from full isolation, right? And that meal delivery person is not just a meal delivery person. That is a lifeline. That is a first intake person, basically, on if there's any change of condition. And so they can alert. So they're almost like an advanced team. I mean, I look at delivery, Meals on Wheels delivery, or people that are in contact with that client, let's call them, right, a senior that is in need. They're really like an advanced team a lot of times, because if it wasn't for them, that senior may not actually engage with anybody for the whole week or longer. And isolation is literally a killer. And I'm bringing it up now because I want to come back to that topic of isolation and really how this period we're in right now has just amplified that danger.
Very true. Very, very true, Rad. And certainly spot on. And the thing about Mrs. Smith that day that I learned was that the reason she was so happy was because that was her friend, that volunteer that delivered to her 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Was not only a lifeline to her, but a true, just a relationship that developed. And that's why she was so happy, even though she was in pain.
Right.
So I, that day, walked out of Mrs. Smith's house, and I went into the front yard, and I became emotional from the standpoint that I thought I had issues in my life. And it was overwhelming to feel what this organization was all about, how 500 volunteers make our organization very special and make it happen. And the lifeline that we are a silent safety net for seniors out there, and that's our mission, and that's what we do.
Steve, let's talk about AgeWell. I hate to use the word normal anymore, right? Because it doesn't really apply. But let's just say that yesteryear or whatever, like the usual role or the mission. Give people a little bit of idea about the mission, the policies, the initiatives that you guys are involved in, on a daily basis, so that people get a little bit of a better sense. And the website is right behind me. So anybody who's listening to this while I'm sitting down here with Steve, go check out agewellseniorservices.org. Actually, I just looked at it again, and it's been quite modified. So shout out to your communications person that chooses not to be on camera with us, although we love her dearly, Jackie.
Jacqueline Svensson. And she
I can hear her laughing in the corner. She's probably like got cue cards up for you, right?
She's our vice president, and she certainly makes it happen. And our website has transformed tremendously. And I appreciate you seeing.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work went into that. So like, shout out to Jackie, honestly, and to you, because especially in a time like this, and I hate to kind of harp on this, but where we have multitude of misinformation, wrong information. I am already in a heightened state of alertness and fatigue at this point after 4 months, and I don't know where to go for information I can trust, and I really can't trust sources. And it's very important to have information that is useful, but also that I can navigate through. And so it becomes even more critical to have things that are usable, like a functioning website. And the information that's on there was very relevant. I thought it was easy to navigate. So again, kudos to you guys. You guys have been doing a lot of work in the real space, if you will, like out and about and doing stuff, but also equally important, the support mechanisms in place, the backbone technology wise. So
Well, thank you very much for that. And
so what is AgeWell, Steve?
Age Well, our mission is to serve seniors. We want to enrich their lives. We want to keep them in place at their home because that's where they're happiest.
Yep.
And in the event that they cannot make it to our senior centers, because we operate senior centers in all of South Orange County.
How many senior centers do you guys operate?
We have a total of 9 going to 10,
Wow.
and we have an additional 2 beyond that we're looking to bring into the fold. And so our service area is from Newport Beach all the way south to San Clemente and
Right.
all the way east in within county lines.
And how many people on a usual day did you guys service? Again, to give people just a benchmark of just how important your services are.
Currently, we're serving over 3,000 people a day,
Wow.
seniors, and that continues to grow daily because of some of the programs that we're involved with.
I remember when you were on last time, you shared with me a statistic relevant to Orange County about how many people by a certain point, a certain year, were going to be 65 or older. And I think it was like 1 in 5. And correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes I get my numbers all over the place, but 2025, I think we said, so about 20% of the population of Orange County would be 65 or older.
That is indeed correct. The other thing is that the age group, the senior age group, is the fastest growing age group in all of Orange County. And so and it's the only one that is growing. The others are actually shrinking.
Yeah, we're mothballing middle schools. I mean, a lot of districts are yeah, you're right. I mean, and it makes perfect sense, right? It's people that are living longer, they're living in their houses longer, it's impacting everything, including real estate market, tax bases, all this stuff. But yes, people are staying around, they're familiar with their environments, but it doesn't change the needs and the demands, regardless actually even of socioeconomic levels, right? I mean, the community, the amenities, the cities. What fascinates me, Steve, is again, you and I have been in this space for a bit. What fascinates me in some cases when it comes to policy is how slow moving an engine that is in realizing what we know to be the lay of the land. And I only bring this up because we have an opportunity with COVID and focusing on things a little bit more microscopically to bring that into the conversation. We have a need that only continues to grow. We have communities that only continue to age. We have demographics that are more and more towards 65 and older than younger, right? We have housing needs that are probably, reflective of that. We have meal and food and nutritional needs that are reflective of that. And we need to get on this because it's not going to change.
Very, very true. And I will say that for the first time since I've been affiliated with this organization, and again, that goes back to 2005.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I have ever seen the senior need really become focus in the media and the highest level, and that's a positive thing that has happened with COVID, but it certainly is the right thing to be happening because these are people that truly are in need of services, and it makes it even more difficult as they're concerned about their well-being, and so they have indeed stayed at home and they have not been going out, and because of that, the services, it's just created a huge demand for our services to make certain that they're fed and taken care of during
Well,
this.
let me just share with you a personal experience. I mentioned this to Jackie when I was on the phone with her. I'm not sure if you're aware, but like my mother passed away after 2 years of dealing with stage 4 lung cancer,
Wow.
which she was doing totally fine, by the way. She was stable. She was okay. I don't know that her passing was COVID related per se, like health wise, right? But or medically, but we had been distancing. You know, the lady, the woman was the primary caregiver for my father, who has dementia and Alzheimer's, right? He's 84, she was 79. She literally, her birthday would have been 2 days ago. She would have turned 80. The added pressure, I believe, of being sequestered, of us basically keeping our distance, because this is not just a situation that's affecting seniors, it's affecting multi-generationally, right? And where your services are super critical. I mean, I literally would joke that I'm going to visit my mother, and I'm basically putting the food at the garage door, opening the garage door, and I'm like, okay, please do not advance yet. Let me back up. You can come get the stuff. Now you've picked it up. I can come forward. Or we would sit and basically visit from a distance with masks on. So it really has put pressure. And she started having mini strokes. And then within a 3-month period, from being totally okay, all things considered, to basically having the cancer spread. And she passed, thankfully, God didn't want her to suffer. She passed very quickly at home with loved ones, because again, could we admit her into a hospital at a time? We can't. We would not have been able to visit her, right? So imagine that with somebody that doesn't have an infrastructure or support system in place or family nearby. And here you are basically dependent on services like yourself. So thank God for you guys being around to provide that connectivity. But again, given the conditions being different than usual, right? That put a lot of kind of different demand and strain on your operational model, right?
Absolutely. Rad, I sincerely give you my condolences.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Because when we met, and I consider you a friend,
Thank you.
to say.
Likewise.
But I know what you thought of your mother, so I'm very, very sad about that. And
thank you.
And what you say is truly correct. This has put a tremendous additional demand on everybody. It's been difficult for everybody. People that are working from home, I think there's more divorces that are taking place now. There's more conflict that's taking place now. And all of this, I think, is caused by just being home, and people want to get out. And in particular, or the last person that is told to get out is our seniors, because they're at risk. And that's, if you can imagine, when this COVID hit, and when we first found out about it, in March, it was a situation where life for our organization was very routine. We were delivering Meals on Wheels to frail individuals at their homes on a regular basis. We had all the senior centers open, and we had congregate meals we were serving every day. Seniors were coming to our centers to congregate, and we had classes, education, a variety of things. And then all of a sudden this
well, because that social component is also super critical, right? I mean, it's unfortunate that it took a vulnerable population that we always knew was a vulnerable population to literally be impacted to the point of mortality for us to actually realize that, and then the interconnectivity of that as far as impact and just sort of trickle effect on other people, whether it's family, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's systems that are in place, caregiving, and the strain. I mean, first responders, available facilities, all of it actually, a good is, like you said, a good is going to come out of this, because we now have a very heightened awareness. That the trick is going to be, how long can we sustain that awareness after things get to quote unquote back to normal. But the thing with this is that certain basic elements, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter, food, things of that nature, become even more critical in a situation like this. And the demands, you guys were rolling, you had a well-oiled machine, everything was functioning, you're delivering, you're slowly growing your capacity. Again, I'm talking to you like, it's funny, right? Because it's this conversation that you usually have in a corporate situation. What's my capacity? What's my production timeline? My ability to deliver, do I have enough wheels and boots on the ground to provide that side of it? And then all of a sudden, it's like somebody takes the dial and goes, whoop.
Precisely. And the other thing to talk about socialization was so important that we have a complete transportation program that does medical transportation. It's non-emergency, but it's to dialysis and cancer treatments and all of that. But also we have nutritional transportation where we would, if somebody was well enough, we would pick them up at their home and take them to the senior center so they could share war stories, they could have a nice lunch, they could participate in classes, and then we would transport them back home. That's how important that socialization is.
What you're talking about is, I mean, I've always referred to it as there's life sustaining and life enhancing.
Yes.
So the life sustaining services and transportation for life sustaining tends to be, there is some there, or whether it's provided through agencies like yourself or like medical facilities or doctor centers. Life sustaining is, I need to go to my doctors, whatever. But life enhancing is equally important because, again, to your point and how we started this conversation, unless somebody basically provides that transportation for that blind Mrs. Smith to come in and engage with other people at a safe place like a senior center, one out of the 9 that you guys run, they don't get to do that. And life enhancing is equally important. If anything, what we're going through right now is probably highlighting how important that really is.
Very, very true. Very true. So as COVID hit, and you're exactly right, the dial just changed. It was a new experience for everybody. And the other thing that I want to say, Rad, before I get into this is there are a lot of great nonprofit organizations and causes out there. And I do not want to discount those, as far as children and animals and everything you can imagine is out there. And I certainly support those causes. But as CEO of AgeWell Senior Services, our cause is pretty darn important, and as I say, the COVID thing has brought it to the forefront, and I think that's a good thing. So with that being said, once COVID hit, we were forced to change on a dime. And the first thing that happened was all the senior centers closed, because that's all of the cities were concerned and they were getting directives from above to close. So they did, and they were concerned about their employees. The other thing that you may recall during that period of time is PPEs.
Sure.
They were non-existent. And so, because everything was being snapped up. And so we had situations where we have 500 volunteers, and a lot of our volunteers are of senior age. And so consequently, they were told, by the government to stay home and that they were at risk. And so we were losing volunteers. Furthermore, and it was good instruction that we were to limit the contact that we had with our seniors. And so consequently, all the seniors from our sites are staying home, and plus we're delivering Meals on Wheels, but we have all these new seniors that are staying home that we are not delivering to. They were coming for the congregate meal. And so now they need to be fed. And so to limit our contact with seniors, we were reducing the number of days that we were delivering to them, but we were delivering more food. And so the volunteers were having to carry more food. And it really complicated things, including with our commissary.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got directive that any senior that wanted food, whether or not they were involved with any of our programs, they could register, they could stay home, and we would get food to them and in our service area.
Well,
So
how was that going to get funded? Because all of a sudden now you have additional demand. Did that, I guess, I mean, I'm sure that eventually that kind of got met, but at the time you were given that direction, was there also simultaneously the support given to basically deliver on that service?
emergency funding, and I've got to say, through this whole thing, the collaborative effort that various sectors of the government and big time, is Orange County Office on Aging, the state and FEMA, the federal government, all of them together have just done a great job as far as communicating with us and making certain that we feel comfortable that the money will be there. And certainly it has been, and that's a positive thing. But with all that being said, during that period of time, we didn't have time to think about that. We just had to go upon the trust because if you talk about pressure, and I may have less hair than the last time you saw me, because of this, Raad.
Hey, nobody can get a haircut these days, so you're probably in a better position anyway.
But the pressure, the personal pressure that you would feel with taking care of all these frail seniors, and you do not want one of them to slip through the crack, because that would be devastating.
That's one too many, right?
That would just spoil everything. And
Right.
and I'm happy to say, through all of this, as we have had to switch on a dime, we have never refused or not been able to serve somebody who has approached us that is eligible for that service. They have never gone hungry. And we've not missed one. And I knock on wood when I say that, but I'm very proud of our team for doing that. So what ended up happening is we needed to increase capacity overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is we spoke with all the cities, we spoke with the mayors, and all of those sites opened up because we're emergency service. That's where we operate our Meals on Wheels program. And in addition to that, we talked with our commissary and said, how can we allow you to produce the most output that you can as far as meals? They said, go back to 5 days a week delivery, which we did. We immediately identified, we put out a call for help as far as volunteers and PPEs, and all of that was met. All of a sudden, we had everything that we needed to do to make this boat be able to smooth out. And it certainly did. We are we are a nonprofit, as people know, and we received the people that would go to individuals that would go to our website that you're showing right now on your screen, and they would donate to us. And it was through those donations that were just so essential for us to continue to operate, continue to serve the demand. And
Steve, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but since you bring it up, let's just expand on that for a little bit for people that don't know. Because I mean, the assumption is, look, this is a well-oiled, it's like you're a victim of your success. If you are actually efficient, proficient out there doing the job that you're supposed to do, I think in a situation like this, sometimes people feel, well, you're well funded, you're good, you're handled, right? You're getting all the stuff from the state and FEMA and what have you. Can you just take a minute and actually share with people how how much of your funding actually is guaranteed or comes from secure sources, and how much is the dependency on donations and volunteerism and stuff of that nature?
Our dependency on donations is over 50%, or roughly 50%. So So we are always having to go out and fundraise. We have a lot of supporters that, and a lot of some corporate support. We get during this period of time, we would get a check from a foundation, a family foundation that we never knew about, but we always, um, that's a big part of this job. It's a big part of my job in that we're always looking for funding and and the funding, and it's one thing, Rad, if you look at my history with all those years in the restaurant business, you know, when you sell a cup of coffee, you know how much money the coffee costs you and what you're making. Nonprofit is we give stuff away and then we have to figure out how we're going to pay for it.
Right.
And that's a whole different ball game.
And I've said this before when I've had some nonprofits on board, is that with the tax regulation changes and you know, that tax reform that happened, some of the motivations for people to donate to nonprofits has also changed. You know, that you can't take beyond a certain point. So and it's not right or wrong. I'm just saying that your worlds, the worlds you guys live in terms of making it happen, in terms of funding, that has also changed. And you guys have had to adjust in the last couple of years to finding other sources, to engaging people differently. You know, again, going back to that website, it wasn't a kind of a luxury to improve your website and your communication skills. You had to. It became even more critical to your ability to sustain your operation.
Yes, but you are exactly right. And when I'll be honest, when I took over the reins 3 years ago,
from Dr. Marilyn Diddy, who had run it, yeah.
And we had a lot of challenges. And since that period of time, in order for us to continue to survive, I'll be honest, we have reduced our expenses tremendously. And if you look at our operation today versus what it was 3 years ago,
yeah,
we have less employees, we are leaner, and we've had to restructure the whole organization to be able to continue to operate. And the beauty of this is that the people that we have, our core team, are such hardworking individuals that during this whole time of COVID, we have not had anybody go on vacation. Not one person's gone on vacation. We have had individuals that have been working 7 days a week, you know, like Jacqueline, like myself, and whatever. And we have just come together as a very, very tight team, and I'm very proud of the way that we've been able to perform. But you are right, and a big part of my job is to go out and fundraise, and any nonprofit has to do that, and so that's just part of the game. But hopefully,
I'm not being negative when I say that. It just again, you know, some thoughts about nonprofits is to sort of, you know, they're stodgy, you know, organizations that move slowly, which is true. I mean, I've been on enough boards, you've been on enough boards. There are certain commonalities in how nonprofits used to operate. But it's the same as the food and beverage industry, same as the hotel industry, same as everything. The reality of how you operate a nonprofit these days is completely different. And you really need to have those people that are seasoned in place, you know, so somebody like you who's bringing this, you know, wealth of information in the food and beverage industry, here you find yourself probably applying those skills that you honed over many years in ways that you never thought you were going to.
Very true. Very, very true. And
I mean, they're to be. I mean, just not to kind of like, you know, blow your horn here, Steve. But they're lucky to have you at the helm in a time like this when all those back of house, operational, streamlining, sourcing, processing are critical. And then added to this is what you guys have been forced to, not forced, but it became imperative. And I thought it was a smart move, by the way, by the state, okay, is that you now have to develop partnerships with actual restaurants and food and beverage partners around you. And that is a totally different animal that was never on the radar screen for you.
Never, never, never. The Great Plates Delivered program, and that has just been a tremendous program that, if your viewers are not familiar with it, that Governor Newsom announced, I believe, on April 24th. And that is where the program was set up to benefit two things. One, seniors that have a need, that are staying at home, and so long as they qualify, would get 3 meals a day delivered, and those meals would be from the second beneficiary of this, which is restaurants.
Now you coming from the restaurant industry, didn't you find that to be a really kind of a very clever support to that industry, as well as giving them kind of almost a heightened social involvement in providing service?
Huge.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Huge. And the restaurant industry is such a major employer in this state, the food service industry.
Yeah.
And this also includes hotels, caterers, and that sort of thing. And so,
and I'm sorry, and they were hurting. I mean, you at best you were asked. I mean, you've been in that industry, to tell a restaurant that has the margins that it has, as small as they are, right, that they cannot basically sell alcohol. I have a question I'm going to ask you in a minute here, but did not sell alcohol, right, because the bar's components is closed. The fact that if at the beginning it was only delivery and pickup, but then at best you are able to only occupy 50% of your space. Meanwhile, by the way, at some point your landlord is looking to possibly hit you with the full rent, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you have such small margins usually that it basically is very high. And then on top of that, you're being given an opportunity to take a loan, but then the people that worked for you, some of them are getting more in unemployment than they would to come back to work, and your loan is supposed to apply for that. I mean, there's been a lot of trial and error, I guess, but I really thought the move, and I do want to give a shout out because I don't think he gets enough recognition, okay, to Governor Newsom for this arrangement where it was really out of the box. It was profit, nonprofit partnership, I don't know how much of this will continue down the road. I'm hoping some of it does, because I think it is a smart move all around. But here's my question. Do you think the fact that we allowed alcohol sales to happen as part of pickup and delivery is ever going to be is that genie ever going to go back into the bottle after this? Yeah,
good question.
you pretty much just answered it.
Yeah, good
you pretty much. Anyway, I'm not. I don't want to derail, but you and I live in this world, right? So me on the design side, you've spent a lot of time in it. I find it fascinating that those skills can come to bear in a situation like this for the benefit of so many. I really find it heartwarming, actually.
It really is, and I'll tell you, we are the administrator of the Great Plates program for South Orange County, and also the city of Irvine. The city of Irvine has asked us to be their administrator also, and there's been so many touching things about this program. An individual. In particular, it's a restaurant in Lake Forest, Yolanda Catering, or Yolanda Cafe, and Yolanda started, and she had 10 seniors in this Great Plate program that she was distributing to, and she has gone out and used her influence and identified seniors to grow her program that want food from her restaurant. And today, she's delivering to nearly 300 seniors a day.
Wow.
And she has come to me um, uh, almost with tears in her eyes and said, Steve, I want you to know that in the event the Great Plates program did not exist, I don't think that I would continue to be in business today. And I have been in business for 25 years.
And that's how real this is. This is
Yeah.
how real this is. I mean, let's not fool ourselves.
Yes.
If it wasn't for this very out of the box plan,
Mhm.
okay, a lot of these, businesses, and how many they wouldn't have be existing right now. I mean, we've been through 2 shutdowns, and as best intentioned as outside dining is and all this stuff, and people have pivoted. Some people have been kind of like more bunker mentality is what I call it, versus growth mindset.
Yeah.
But the growth mindset is going to serve those restaurants well after this is all done. They'll have a much more well-oiled delivery and pickup service. They'll have maybe their own delivery capability through a smart car or something, so they're not paying fees for DoorDash and Uber Eats and all this stuff, which was always a sort of a hesitation to even expand that service before, because you're giving away too much margin. And then here we are now basically looking at profit nonprofit relationships and possibly I was mentioning to Jackie, there's such things, and about this, ghost kitchens now that are providing delivery so that they don't overwhelm existing facilities like brick and mortars for the multiple chains. But I could easily see that happening for somebody who has maybe 2 or 3 locations equally. Right. So let's take a minute here and talk about this partnerships that you guys have. How many restaurants do you have engaged in this right now?
We have total number, I would say approximately 30. And a lot of those restaurants are hiring additional staff, because as this program continues to grow, and it really is a month to month. Initially, the first date that it was set to end was May 10th, and it's always on the 10th of the month. And generally, we will find out we always find out prior to the expiration of the program that it's been extended, and so it's continued to be extended 3 months and now it's set to expire August 10th. The number statewide that of participants in this program now is just amazing. Unfortunately, I don't have that number at my fingertips, Raad, but it grows each and every day.
Well, I think we can expand it. We can extrapolate, Steve. I mean, if you got 30 restaurants that are in your territory of engagement is Newport Beach to South County, that's a lot of restaurants within a 30-mile radius. Okay, I mean, just simplicity-wise, it's like 30-mile radius or 30-mile distance between Newport Beach and San Clemente. It means that I pretty much like I could say a restaurant every mile basically is engaged in this program, and I'm sure it's a range of different restaurants. By the way, just before I forget, because I want, and Jackie I know is listening. Jackie or Steve, if you guys can send me a list of those restaurants, if it's appropriate to share, because I really believe that somebody who steps up and is engaging in a situation like this, it's probably also safe bet is probably practicing safe measures both for their employees and their facilities. And I really would like to encourage people to frequent people that are basically stepping up and being socially responsible in a situation like this and supporting an effort like yours. I mean, we should give them a shout out. So I know there's too many for us to maybe mention now. You've mentioned one. If there's any you'd like to mention that were maybe, stories that you'd like to share, please do. But please don't forget to send me that list. I'd love to put it out on the social media for them.
That's great. And I'll tell you, there's 5 additional restaurants right now that are in the midst of the contractual sign up. And so that's growing all the time too. So
how do they qualify, Steve? How do people qualify for the Great Plates, and how do restaurants qualify?
They go to our website, and both restaurant potential food providers and individuals that want to receive meals, they go to our website, and they will see as soon as they open the website, they'll see a floating square that goes across the left to right, And on that, it will Great Plates Delivered program. They click on that and they can either fill out the food provider information or an individual that wants to sign up for meals. And our website, as you had indicated, I'm very proud of it. It truly is state of the art. And I know Jackie has spent a lot of time putting that together, but it allows individuals that fill it out. If a food provider, let's say I'm a new food provider that is coming aboard, I can do a e-blast telling my followers to go to the AgeWell website, fill it out, and indicate that that food provider told them to go to the website. They click yes, the food provider told me to go to the website. Then there's a drop down box and they can select that food provider. It automatically channels their name onto a list that we eventually deliver.
But how I mean, do they have to be of a certain age? Do they have to have, so what are some of the criteria?
Okay, the criteria is that they have to be 65 years or older, unless they can be between 60 and 64, so long as they have some undermining conditions. And the other thing is there's an income level test that if they're an individual, they have to meet make less than a certain amount. And if they are living with another senior, then their household income needs to be
combined.
But there's some other criteria too. Do they have the ability to cook meals? Well, there's other questions that they have to answer, and based on that,
the only reason I asked is that, before everybody starts flooding your website, right? I just wanted to make sure that that people understood that there were certain criteria. The service is supposed to be for those that are mostly in need of it. How many people would you say are on that program that normally you wouldn't necessarily serve or provide service for?
I would say probably 1,600 people currently in our service area.
Within a period of 4 months. I mean, that's
that they're being delivered to every single day, 7 days a week, and that continues to grow.
Well, and Jackie sent me some information. I mean, I'll just list it here. It's in front of me. Since then you've delivered over, I think she said 109,000 Meals on Wheels, over 13,000 grab and goes, and then 60,000 meals. And it's just the numbers are just mind boggling. I want people. I mean, you speak to this so much like this is my daily thing that I do, but I really want people to understand that you are providing service to quite a big footprint. The impact is huge, and that being said, the need is even bigger.
Well, the Great Plates Delivered program, when you think about it, Rad, is actually 4,500 meals being delivered daily. And
just to what did you say, 1,600 people or 1,400 people?
Actually, it's about 1,700 people.
Okay, 1,700 people.
So I mean,
4,500 meals a day. Provided to, so you guys do the math. How are you supporting the infrastructure needed to do this? I mean, we have social distancing, we have people that are self-sequestering, which is understandably so, right? Mm-hmm. How did you guys build up, I'm sure, at least volunteer base to provide this, right?
Well, regarding the Great Plates Delivered, one of the food providers we make them responsible for delivering the meals. And so
that's smart.
Once it's all said and done, all the food providers that may have not been in delivery business before
now are
come out of this, yes, with that. and we look for them to have all of their drivers background checked, and we require that. And
Well,
so
because you do that normally for your drivers on Meals on Wheels. I mean, the background checks, all of that stuff that requires it, because again, they're dealing with a vulnerable population.
very, very vulnerable population. That is correct. Excuse me. So it took a while to set the structure up because there wasn't a set of plans that we were working from.
You were building the plane as you were flying it, right?
That's exactly right. And the runway was ending, and we had to take off.
And the runway was ending too. Yeah.
But no, in all sincerity, as I say, that our team has I'm so proud of them, Rad, and I'm sorry to overemphasize that, but as CEO, I'm proud of the AgeWell team because it was them that had that and great, again, collaboration that we had with the Office on Aging, with the state of California, and FEMA in putting this whole thing together and make certain, and we have actually collaborated with Meals on Wheels Orange County, which handles the north.
Yes, our friends up north.
And so that has, our programs are substantially similar, which makes it easy. And so a lot of times if we bring in a food provider that's a chain of some sort, it's easy for them to if they have locations that are in North County, right, to make that transition also.
Well, and vice versa, right? I mean, and a shout out to Susan Piperi there in Holly that basically run that operation. Yes. Great people as well. Yeah, I'm going to share something with you, Steve. I don't know that it's out or common knowledge yet, but I had the fortune to, and I will be dropping that episode here shortly, next day or so. I had an opportunity to interview and sit down with Lucy Dunn, who's CEO of Orange County Business Council. And there is a program, this is something if you don't know about, you might want to pass on to your partner restaurants, is they now have, the Board of Supervisors has approved, if I'm correct in my numbers, of something like $10 million for $1,000 grants for restaurants that are actually practicing protective measures and doing what is needed, and that is per location. So if a restaurant has 3 or 4 locations, that's $1,000 per location, in which, given what we are dealing with as food purveyors right now, that is a big deal. So I just, you're talking about 30 restaurants doing the right thing. That may be something, if your partner restaurants are not aware of, you may want to put out to them. And she kind of gave me an exclusive when I interviewed her, because I think the news is about to come out. But that's something that, again, the county stepping up and trying to do things to encourage appropriate behavior to deal with the crisis that we're in, and to reward people that are actually stepping up to, excuse the pun, to the plate to do what is needed.
Yes, I'm familiar with that. I was actually contacted by one of the chairwoman's staff members, knowing that I had been involved with the California Restaurant Association for years, and president of the Orange County chapter. And so I reached out to the CRA and Orange County particular, and made them aware that this was available. So they were going to promote that within the Restaurant Association members, to let them know that those loans were available, or those grants were available, which certainly will benefit the industry.
Oh, absolutely. It's another $10 million of infusion into the industry. Huge. It's huge at a time like this. And there is a timeline on it. I just want to add that I believe there's a timeline on it as far as application. So again, once I drop that show with Lucy on it, I will also add sort of a link and stuff to that. But yeah, I mean, every little bit helps. But I really am encouraged. I don't know about you, but I'm really encouraged by this new development.
Yeah.
sort of teaming up across a common purpose. Are you? I mean, it just seems like a
Oh,
real good time coming out of this.
I am, and the thing is, Brad, I'm sure many of your followers are aware of restaurants, the small mom and pop restaurant that is going away. You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
closed this door and it's not going to open up, and that is just so sad. That is a tragic ending, a fallout from this COVID virus.
Well,
And
it was already a lot of pressure, right, Steve? I mean, you
yeah,
had rising real estate costs, even though there's a lot of commercial vacancy. You had really tighter and tighter margins, right? If you
oh,
didn't have an ABC license, you were already kind of behind the eight ball. There was a lot of demands on an already, uh, pressured industry.
yes,
And you know this as well as I do. A lot of hospitality properties kind of cut away their three-meal restaurants. They started doing grab and goes instead of actually providing things. Those areas became coffee counters instead of restaurant areas, and so the industry was changing and shifting as already. I can't help myself but think, and maybe you and I have had this conversation before about
mhm,
underutilized commercial kitchen spaces and the potential for profit and nonprofit.
mhm,
Remember this conversation
yes,
about senior centers and rebranding senior centers as wellness centers and
yes,
providing nutritional training. I don't know, but I think maybe there's a window here right now to actually rethink this, both for the benefit of whatever food and beverage mom and pops are still around, the catering companies that are around, and making it really hyper local focus, but also in the same context, provide better service to a growing population of people that are in need, aka elderly.
hmm No, um, that's
It's another conversation for another time, you and I, because I believe there is a model to be had here, and to possibly be pitched to people that are currently in a heightened state of awareness, so they're likely to maybe consider it more so than think, oh, well, this is an interesting idea, but I'll put it on the back burner. I think we may have a window here, my friend, to actually maybe take this to the next step.
you think outside the box, and I like that, Brad. So
Guilty as charged. What can I tell you?
yeah,
So let's talk about where AgeWell goes from here, because I know we're coming on the hour here, and I want to give people an opportunity to know what you guys maybe are having in mind. Also, please, how do people get involved with you? Because I know that you can always use another set of boots on the ground. A lot of and how can they find what is it that you guys have a need for right now that we can help you with?
we can always use volunteers. And they can go to our website. Anybody that would like to volunteer, go to our website. We actually have an application that's online, and they can fill that out, and we certainly will be back in touch with them that way. We can always use funding, as we talked
Of
about.
course, yeah.
Uh, that's a given. Um,
And can people donate on the website, Steve? I mean,
Very easy, very easy, and very easy. And the donate button they'll see as soon as the site opens. Um, the other thing that
yeah,
I will say that where we are, where we're going as an organization, because the demand is building, continues to build in Orange County. We talked about the numbers of seniors that are coming into that.
right.
We have new areas in Orange County that we will be expanding our services to. We're already providing services to those areas now, but I'm talking about identified locations where it will make it easier for us to deliver those services. Um, um, the other thing is that we've had some additional cities that have approached us and would like to have us provide their city more services. So the growth is definitely there. Our transportation department, we see that there's a lot of opportunity for more medical transportation taking place,
Yeah,
as you might expect. Insurance companies now understand that to get their participants to regular checkups by doctors keeps them healthier rather than them not making it to the
Right.
doctor for.
Right.
So there's avenues there. Case management becoming a bigger and bigger thing. As you talked about the socialization
Yeah.
aspect, case management keeps tabs of that. Throughout this COVID-19, we've been in a scenario where because of the isolation
Right.
and
Right. People cannot come into your centers. Yeah.
we now are making friendship calls on a regular basis, on a daily basis to the people that we know,
Mhm.
and the people we know for long term are existing home delivered meals recipients, but now we have all these other thousands that we're
Mhm.
delivering to, and so we're getting to know them during COVID, and now we're reaching out to them and making certain that if they have issues, they know where to call, and we indeed are here. Now, as far as all of our centers,
Mhm.
what are we going to do as we start to reopen those? That's something that we are, we've been giving a lot of thought to and continuing to, because it's fluid and it seems to be changing. We follow all the directives that we receive from the government,
Right.
and but this is all the disinfectant, all of the redesigning all of these, and quite frankly, the model is going to be different than it ever was before.
Every single, and I've got my designer hat on here for a minute. Every
Yeah.
single physical location that is out there, be it a food and beverage, be it a business, be it an office, be it a nonprofit or some facility that's providing a service, every single one of those, if you are to do it correctly, okay, needs to be reviewed from the plan layout level up. I mean, otherwise, what you will be doing is doing band-aid duct tape solutions to something that will take away from all the other experiential components that are very instrumental in providing the quality of service, whatever it may be. Okay, plexi glass, kind of like pop up or a hanging curtain of a plastic curtain or whatever is not the way that you want to engage to somebody that's coming to you as a safe place to spend a couple of hours. Okay, it has to be bigger solutions. And I'm not going to share it here, but you and I should have a conversation, because I have been looking at things that are a lot more sustainable, because even when this scare goes away, what we have learned, and I shared this with Jackie, everything that we do in kitchen layouts, in bathroom layouts, material used, all this stuff today, okay, all came out of crisis and pandemic and health concerns. And we use it now as if it is the thing to do in everything from our home remodels to our facilities remodels. There's going to be things out of this that we will continue to do because it's just the right and good idea to do in our facilities. Air quality control, circulated air, all these things that are more sustainable in providing not only a safe environment, but one that people can experience without worry, right? Those are all things that are going to happen. So again, when you're saying what you're saying, it's music to my ears, because a lot of people, I think, are just now starting to consider. And it's being reactive versus proactive. I think we have had to be reactive to meet the challenge that we are basically facing. But now, after 4 months, if you are smart, you're looking at this as a, what can I learn? What can I do? How can this become a thing that basically is an opportunity, if you will, to redesign my operational model, to redesign my facility, to provide maybe more remote work for some of the people, and therefore
Mhm.
increase enhanced quality of life. That means I can dedicate more of my square footage to maybe more usability than office space. I mean, I'm sure all of this stuff in your role is rattling around in your brain almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, really, really good words. Thank you for that, Rad, and that's something that we're certainly looking at. The other thing that I don't want to be remiss on, and that is that I would ask people to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Our social media is uh, very well put together at this point, and
Oh yeah, I have noticed a big, like, you guys were doing social media, but you are now doing social media almost on steroids. Like your level of social media right now is like in the last, I would say even 60 days maybe, has just taken a complete like different direction and really valuable direction. I mean, you know, in terms of informative, engaging, because that's really the name of the game, right? So
I am so proud of it. I really am, and I've had absolutely nothing to do with it. But Jackie has, and she's got some very, very, very talented people
well,
behind.
sometimes leadership is getting out of the way, Steve,
Yeah,
right?
this is one of those. Just get out of the way. Don't get run over. So, but Brad, I got to tell you, it's so nice seeing you.
Likewise, my friend. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. Again, the offer stands. Anything I can do to help, you let me know in terms of anything, in terms of redesign of the facilities or anything of that nature. We will definitely send, you know, Jackie, I know you're listening. Send me the list of the restaurants. I really want to give them a shout out and give them some exposure. And we will I'll probably drop this in the next couple of days, maybe even over the weekend or latest Monday. But anything you guys want to include or for us to share, please send that to me. I really, really appreciate you guys a lot. You
Likewise.
know, my parents, fortunately, you know, we are able to sustain them, but I really, really understand the importance and criticalness of the services you guys provide to this community. Glad to see exciting opportunities come out of this crisis for everybody, including you guys. And I don't need to tell you this, but the door is always open, man. You're welcome at any time. And I know Jackie's already asked for, you know, a second appearance. I don't know what she's got in store for me, but I am looking forward to you on being, you know, on again. And any little tidbits that we can do as far as social media is getting the word out. If you got an initiative coming up or a special need with a time sensitivity, just all you have to do is call.
Great, Rad. Thank you.
My pleasure. You have a great day, Steve, and thank you, Jackie, for participating in this. And always, you know, congrats again on all the social media work and on the website. Steve, I will wish you a good day, and I will see you soon.
Okay. Bye bye, my friend.
Bye bye.